She's sweet, she's salty, she's smart and craves chocolate every day. Here is your host, the Greek goddess of comedy, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sweet and Salty with Ellen Karis. I am your host, Ellen Karis, and you are listening to the guest edition of Sweet and Salty. I told you we're going to have guests, and I don't just get guests. I get guests. I have been wanting to have this woman on my show. It's got to be at least 5 years. We're gonna mention it. We're gonna mention it. I'm so excited. The her career, the description is amazing. I have to write it down. It's really a list. Okay. She is an animator, a producer, a voice actor, a songwriter, a director, a character designer. And I know she's a mom. I think she has 3 kids. I don't know, but she's done a million things. She works for Disney. Maybe you heard of that little cartoon, Phineas and Ferb, perhaps. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest, fellow Greek chick, Aliki Theofilopoulos Kiriakou.
Hey.
That's right, Kseni. Take that.
Hey, the only thing better than one Greek last name is 2. So,
well, it's so nice to meet you.
yeah, nice to meet you finally.
I know.
Oh my God.
So Aliki and I, we met on Twitter, I believe, because it was so long ago that really wasn't an Instagram yet, I think.
That was when Twitter was actually a thing, like a
thing. Right.
Yeah.
People were really communicating with each other. And wanted to get you on. I know we can never get the time right. You are in California, LA area. I'm in New York, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, you've got 3 kids. And then, I don't know, you got married, and you had, your work. And so
I started off with 2 kids of my own and then got 3 more bonus kids. And now we have 5 teenagers in our house and, big careers and just crazy, crazy life. So yes, it's like in one hand, I'm like, oh my God, how has it been 5 years? And the other hand, I'm like, well, duh, of course it's been 5 years.
if 5 teenagers, that's a lot of hormones.
It is a lot of hormones. It's very interesting.
Wow. Okay. So you had 2 and then your husband had 3 and
yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought you had 3 and he had 2. Okay. And I follow you on Instagram and you're an amazing mother and you are such a talent. So I want to start off also by telling people that especially in the last couple of years, I'm so excited for you because you've been getting very well-deserved awards and accolades, and people are getting to know you because you are animator, you work for Disney, but I'm sure you can do all your work and kind of go on. I know you're part of Disney. You're part of the company, and obviously when they receive the accolades, but you're getting your own just recently, for example, in the Greek community, especially, which I'm really excited about because listen, as Greeks, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, there's not as many of us. We're just very loud. That's why it feels like there's a zillion, but there's not. So recently you got an award from the Greek American Foundation. You got a Goddess Award, and I wish I could have come. I would have, but I couldn't, unfortunately. And I just you deserve the Goddess Award because you are so creative and so amazing. And I'm really happy to see, because I don't know if I get the impression you don't really seek this out. I get the impression
no way
they come to you, but you've got the name. So, it was like I think you'll relate to this. When I was a little girl, my father would read the newspaper. People read the newspaper. And when there was a Greek name, my father would be like, Eleni, look, Kostas Theodorokopoulos.
Oh yeah. And same with on television, right? Like any kind of screen credit or we still to this day, we're like, oh, all of us, we get so excited because, like you said, there's so few of us. It really stands out, and we know those last names and those, the endings. We know what
Right.
to look for. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So it's the same thing. So I'm assuming that because, and your name is very, very Greek. So I'm assuming people have come to you. I know you've been written up in the newspapers and National Herald. And so I'm so excited because I remember finding out about you about 5 or 6 years ago, but I feel like for the last few years, you've been kind of coming to the forefront. And like I said, I don't get the impression that you were really seeking this. It
No
just kind
way.
of
No, it's funny, even with the Greek American Foundation, like I almost felt uncomfortable accepting, and I think it's just because my initial thought is always like, oh no, no, oh no, me, no. And I always have to take a moment and kind of say, like, other women, other girls, other Greeks, your family, your kids, like, need to see you say, yes, I accept this. Thank you. Yes, I have worked hard. Yes, I have put the work in, and this matters to me. And it's okay and actually wonderful to acknowledge that work and accept that and take a moment and take that in. And so there's something really beautiful about, being able to kind of arrive at that point and say, yeah, like, this is okay. Yeah, I freaking did that work, man. Like, yes, I am here and I'm gonna, like, say thank you and take a moment and, like, let this in and just appreciate it and share it.
That's great. And you know what? That's a good example. You have daughters, right? You have
Yes,
a son and a daughter, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And that's good for not that there's obviously the son as well, but just we need a little extra for the girls, you know what I mean?
Yes,
We need to push
100%.
we need to push ourselves a little bit more. I just feel even though we're in 2025, I know we're in 2025. It's still a thing. I don't know why.
Still
It's
very much a thing. And yes, I have my a 17-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old stepdaughter, and we're very, very close. And I love to kind of share my story and experiences that I've been through to help hopefully be an inspiration to them too, to go for their dreams and to, like, have that grit and work through disappointments and do all those things that I've had to do as I've, adventured through my own path to be here at this moment. So it is very special. And I do have a particular calling to the girls out there to be there for them, my own home and outside of it.
Well, listen, it's great to have mentors
Yeah.
and that's what we want. And then our gift is to give them that knowledge, just like our mothers and grandmothers gave us a lot of knowledge.
100%.
Um,
Absolutely. And
so
Greek women are tough. We are
not
tough.
for the weak.
No.
It's like my thing is like, don't screw with us. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
do
No.
yourself a favor and just go someplace else.
Warm, loving, fun, affectionate, and nurtures, but oh boy, tough.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
We're all sort of wired the same way. Now, I want to just touch upon the fact that you were raised in Southern California.
Yes.
Now, I'm a New York Greek. I don't know if you could tell by my accent, and us New York Greeks, for the most part, think that nobody else really lives anyplace else other than in the New York area. We're still very myopic. I don't know why, we just are. So when I find out that there's a Greek person that lived in another part of the country, I mean, Boston, Chicago, okay, but like California, I'm mesmerized. And so I do stand-up comedy and I've traveled all over this country for the last 20 years. So I've gone to California and I did some shows and it's sort of interesting because we're like very Greek here, much more Greek
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
And it's also it's not just Manhattan, it's the five boroughs, it's Long Island, it's Jersey, and we're all like very connected. Westchester, a lot of us went to grammar school together, we went to camp this together, and who's Gumbadi with who, and So it's like very incestuous, but obviously when you get to your part of the country, it's much more spread out.
Mhm.
So you grew up in the San Diego area, is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, so it's really fun to hear you talk about that because it was something I kind of heard about, the East Coast Greeks and the communities, and I certainly heard a lot of stories from my husband who's from the Pittsburgh area, and he grew up
Mhm.
very, very Greek, surrounded by only Greeks. Um, and then we've started going to New York quite a bit, and I am blown away by the community out there. It's so exciting for me. Like I can be walking down the street and I hear somebody speaking Greek. Now, for me, growing up, when you heard somebody speaking Greek, it was so rare. And every time I'm in New York, I'm like, that person's speaking Greek. My husband's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of Greeks out here. I'm like, those speaking Greek. We'll go to Astoria and eat, and it feels like we're being, just transported to Greece somewhere, and it's just such a fun, exciting feeling. And again, like he has all these stories of like being around all his cousins and only Greek friends, and playing in his dad's Greek band, and really being immersed. For us, it was not like that. You really had to, I think, well, the nature of just kind of Southern California living, you're not as much like in these kind of close-knit communities. So the Greeks really have to seek each other out. A lot of that, of course, is done through the community of the church. Um, and also, it was a little bit of a strange thing for me because my father, he grew up in Greece and was there until he won a scholarship to come to medical school to America. So he had never been on a plane. He didn't speak a word of English. He grew up in a very poor family. And here he got the scholarship because of his medical studies to come out here. So he was new in this country. My mom, my grandmother had left a bad marriage and remarried an American who worked for the embassy. So she moved around a lot and had lived in like places like Lebanon and Egypt and went to these American schools, and then uh, came out here, met my dad, and they moved to San Diego. So they had these very different backgrounds. My mom had, at a young age, started going to these American schools and had this American stepdad. My father came out here late in his life and was trying to acclimate and speak English and fit in and make a name for himself in the medical community. So between the two of them, it was like, okay, well, we're Greek and we're proud. Like my dad refused to change our last name. He has this famous story about like somebody telling him to change his name during a lecture he gave, and he was like, "My name is Theofilopoulos. Remember it. You're going to hear it again." Proud Greek. So I like to say like I had the Greek nose, I had the Greek brows, I had the Greek name, but I didn't speak Greek. And so I found myself kind of feeling like, well, when we were around the Greeks, I didn't feel like I 100% belonged because I couldn't speak the language with them. But then when I was, in my beach community in La Jolla with people who had names like Andrea and Jenny and Stephanie, and I was Aliki Theofilopoulos, I felt like a weirdo there too. So it was a strange upbringing in that sense, but it almost made our times of being Greek even like more special, and something that I really noticed. Like it was something I was really proud of, and I loved sharing with my friends who weren't Greek. I loved having friends over for our big Greek parties and the music and the singing and dancing. And my mom is an incredible cook, so sharing, all her moussaka and baklava and all these amazing Greek foods with my friends. It was like this thing where I almost feel like if we had just grown up where it was super normal, I wouldn't have noticed. But because we had these two different worlds with this like dichotomy going on, it made me really notice. Sometimes I was a little embarrassed because there would be some crazy loud Greek fighting over tavli, or sometimes, I was super proud to share this culture and food with friends that didn't have any of that in their life and thought it was something really special.
That is so interesting. I love hearing it because it's so different again from here.
Mm.
So if you had grown up here, you would have went to Greek school, you would have been
Hmm.
fluent, and it would have been
Hmm.
seamless, but
So
not
lucky.
not everybody is like that. Well, and then there's other
Yeah.
parts of the country too, not just California,
Yeah.
some places in the
Hmm.
Midwest. Now with your husband, just because I've been to some of the Ohio churches, Canton,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Ohio, there's a ton of Greeks in Ohio.
Yes.
I've done the Cincinnati church, Columbus, Cleveland. It's again, until I started to do stand-up comedy, I didn't know that
Hmm.
there were Greeks in other places. I know
Hmm.
it sounds ridiculous. So, um, but I can relate a little bit to what one of the things that you said. So when I was about to go to high school, we moved out of Manhattan up to the suburbs, and it was different. And I went to a high school where there were no Greeks.
Mm.
And and people were like, "What's Greek? Is that Italian?" And I'm like,
Mm.
"No, Fre, it's Greek. What is that Spanish?" And it's like,
Oh
"What?"
yeah, I had somebody's parents ask me if we have a certain religion, if we worship the gods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody actually asked me that. Okay.
So, I remember thinking like, "You guys need an education. This is not good."
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so I can relate a little bit to that. But I do want to say that I've been to La Jolla. It is gorgeous.
Hmm.
And I was just recently in San Diego because I actually have one uncle that defected and he moved to California and he went to UCLA and he loved it and he never came back and he wound up getting married really young, got divorced, got married again, whatever. Anyway, he lives now in Paso Robles. Uh,
Okay.
he moved, but he had lived in LA forever and ever and ever. So we just came for his birthday and we went to Coronado. Car
Oh yeah, beautiful
yeah, so
too.
it was like a family thing and it was funny because his girlfriend is Xeni, it's Xeni friends and I'm like and all of a sudden it's like the Greeks from Jersey are here. We're just like loud.
Loud, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell are you talking about, Fred Malaga? So, that's because that's how we talk. And it's
Yeah.
all off. And so anyway, it was very, very funny. They weren't Greek at all, but it was just, but it's that exact.
Well, it was so funny because my whole life, I mean, I was such a Southern California girl as far as like, I grew up in Southern California. I went to school at USC. My parents didn't have a relationship with the East Coast, so it wasn't something we went and did. I think I took a school trip to like DC in fifth grade, and that
Mhm.
was it. But my whole life, I would hear like, "Oh, you're from New York, aren't you? Oh, you're such a New Yorker. You're East Coast girl, right?" Like people would say stuff like that to me, and I would be like, "What are they talking about? Why does everybody always say that to me? I don't understand. What does that mean?" Until I went. And I'm like, oh, I get it because I grew up in a Greek household. So there is this part of us that's like loud and affectionate and warm and celebratory and tells it like it is and real and down to earth and all this kind of stuff where I'm like, oh, this is what they mean. Like East Coasters are like this. Okay, I
Right,
get it now. It's
right,
so
right,
funny.
right. Exactly. That's
But
so
definitely affected my life. Like, yes, there's
funny.
this, you said you've been to La Jolla. I mean, my dad said he chose working, he wanted to be down there partially because he felt like he was in Greece because he was surrounded by water all the time. So I definitely have these influences from the Southern California upbringing, but I feel very comfortable with East Coast people because I kind of had that like again the Greek vibe growing up as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Absolutely. On my bucket list is to go and see a show at the La Jolla Playhouse because so much talent from back in the day, has come out of there. So that's
Started by Gregory Peck.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're an I Love Lucy trivia person, but Desi Arnaz found Vivian Vance, who was Ethel Mertz, played the Ethel Mertz character in like one of the most notable second bananas in
Mhm.
comedy, and she was at the La Jolla Playhouse.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And
wow.
then I'm sure there's like a zillion stories like that. But so you are a California girl and you are technically you lived near Disney. Well, obviously a lot closer than we did, right?
Hmm.
Because I know Disney is a very big part of the LA life because you have
Yes.
Disneyland there.
Yes.
So did that have any effect, or like how did the whole animation cartoon, because it is such a specific skill set. It's I I don't I met illustrators, and actually I wrote a children's book that I had obviously an illustrator, illustrate for me, but I've never met anybody that did actual cartoons that were on TV that everybody knows about. So how did that all come about? And it's a big question.
It's funny to look back on because I just grew up loving cartoons. I loved cartoons so, so, so much. And I'm so glad that like my mom gave me access to them because she would, put them on or take us to Disney movies and such. And it was something that I did with my brothers too. It's funny, I even have very strong memories going and visiting cousins in Greece and us all watching Popeye together. It was just like this thing we could do together. And I just thought like both more the cartoony cartoons like the Warner Brothers stuff, Tex Avery and Popeye and such. I thought that those were so freaking funny. They were so so funny and ridiculous and stupid and just I don't know, t just takes you to another world and I just loved um the way humor was handled in these little shorts and such. But then with the Disney films, I loved truly being transported somewhere else and I loved the emotion. I just loved the way these films made me feel. And I felt like I wanted to make people feel that way too. I loved drawing from an early age. I drew all the time. I um, goofed off with my brothers and we would do drawing contests and I liked making them laugh with my drawings. I mean, that was something that I always had too, that I liked to make people laugh with my drawings. So I think between the part of my fandom of like just loving comedy and I mean you mentioned I Love Lucy. I was a huge fan of I Love Lucy. I grew up watching a lot of I Love Lucy too, and I was really aware of how funny Lucille Ball was, and that was the thing too because I also I'm influenced a lot by Lucille Ball, but also Olive Oil as a character. I was just aware that like so often the girls were like so pretty and perfect, but Lucille Ball and Lucy and Olive Oil are like ridiculous and hilarious and like carry the scenes in their own right, which I was uniquely aware of that. So then from there, like yes, I did grow up going to Disneyland. My family took us to Disneyland. I would go then as a teenager with friends, and then being up in LA at USC, that was something that we did. And to this day, like I am a huge Disneyland fan. I love going. I love going and with my kids. My two especially, that's our special thing together. Like whenever life is feeling overwhelming or things are difficult with just school or whatever it is, we'll say like it seems like it's about time for a Disneyland trip. And it's just the thing that always works. It's I don't know. It's a guarantee in our lives. It brings joy and memories and connection and just family time that is just so special. And they're fans of the movies too. So also just like the points of connections to the films that you get to have when you're having the Disneyland experience. It's just something that I can't even imagine not being in my life at this point. Yeah.
So the drawing, okay, that just doesn't happen like that. You have to have that innate ability to do that. It's a gift what you have. When did you realize that it was something special? Like, that your friend next to you that was making the stick figures, it was like not the same thing.
Um, I think again at an early age, it was something where it's like I loved doing it so much. It just made me so happy to be drawing. And I did, as a kid, just start to kind of notice, oh, when I'm drawing this house, there's a lot more detail and a lot going on. here opposed to my friends, or just little things. Like I remember at school there was some kind of drawing contest, and I won that contest with my drawing that I did. And this is just as a kid. So it was just like that, like just getting some different feedback from the world. But it also wasn't something I don't think yet that I notice as much as far as like, oh, am I good enough to draw? Like it was just something that I loved doing so much and I had to do. So I was just always doing it. It was later that it started like really forming into like a can I do this? Like as much as I loved cartoons and wanted to be working in cartoons, I don't think I really got that I am a person that could get there until later in my life as I started working more towards that. Yeah.
What did you major in at USC?
So I was an art major at that time. It was interesting because now animation is such a known career. So you know that you can go to this college and they have this program and they use this software and these mentors come in and the teachers that are in the business come in and teach there and you know what the best programs are and then they feed into like it's such a built out thing even at USC. But at that time it was not. Only there was Cal Arts and Otis Parsons. So when I was applying to schools and I was saying I want to be an animator, Greek dad was like, animation, what are you going to do with this? What do you arts? This girl is going to do art. What kind of living are you going to do with art? And then especially when, I was like, I want to go to USC. Now I'm going to spend a lot of money on art. So, but at the time it was like I remember I was kind of looking into CalArts and Otis Parsons, and I went on a college tour of Parsons. And now Parsons has a brand new building that's super beautiful again, like really built out. At that time, it was kind of like in a sketchy neighborhood. Not that, I mean, USC is in a sketchy neighborhood, but it was a little bit of a sketchy neighborhood. It was a tiny, tiny school. My dad, if we look at his journey, education saved him and opened up a completely new life because he got his education and he got the scholarship and became a world-renowned research doctor and ended up being the chairman of immunology at Scripps Clinic in La Jolla. I mean, he's amazing. But for his truth, it was like this education is the most important thing. So when I took him on a tour to Parsons and was like, "Yeah, I want to be an art major," and here we are, and he looked around and was like, "What kind of university is this? Where are the brick buildings? Where are the rolling hills?" He was like, "What? How are you gonna get your education?" So that was a concern for him. So I shifted and focused more on like more of a university environment. And so I applied to a few schools. I got into USC. There was no animation program there at the time, so it was the option was to be an art major. There was a animation class that I took my senior year, and that was important because I actually started meeting other people that had the same interests that I did, and met a couple people that were like in the new graduate program. My senior year was the first year of the animation graduate program at USC. And so I met some of the graduate kids, and they told me about some things about internships and some other opportunities. And I would sit in on their classes and come and listen to some of the lecturers that would come in, and they would let me like crash their classes and get some access to some info that I otherwise at that time wasn't able to have access to.
So how did you get the job at Disney? Was it right out of college, or did you do a bunch of things first and then got it? And what was it like when you got hired? I mean, that is like, the mecca.
It's crazy. Yeah. So when I was in my senior year and like I mentioned, I became friends with these graduate students. One of them talked about how he had gotten an internship at Hanna-Barbera. And the younger audience might not know Hanna-Barbera, but you can look it up. That's where some famous cartoons were created.
The Flintstones.
The Flintstones, yep, the Jetsons,
That's right.
Adamant, like a bunch of cartoons. So he ended up connecting me with somebody there. I got an internship. I also got an internship at the studio that created Ren and Stimpy. They had just lost the show, the creator there. But I knew of him. I was very familiar with him. I was really following the work he was doing and loved Ren and Stimpy. And so I'd gotten these two internships and had somewhere in there met somebody that was taking these classes at both the, it's so convoluted. I was doing a million things at the same time. And if anybody's listening who's like, thinking about pursuing their dreams, there's no one thing. There's no like, you just do this one thing and you're there. Like, I kind of had this like, say yes to everything, do it all, and see where the chips land. So, I heard about some animation classes that were being taught through the Animation Guild. And I also heard about a class that was being taught. It was like in no man's land. It was in Timbuktu. When it was through a high school, it was an after school program, and somebody told me about it. And so I would drive over there. It was like an hour away. So I was kind of running around like these two internships and these art classes and going over to this other program that, I didn't really know too much about. But right place, right time, I was working on my portfolio. And this after school program, there were some recruiters that came in, and there was a portfolio night. You had to be chosen to put your portfolio out for the portfolio night. And some recruiters came through from different studios, and a few of them like gave me their card, and Disney came through and they invited me to apply and submit my portfolio. So I did. And at first, I actually didn't get in. Like a bunch of my friends got hired on in what's called the cleanup department on The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I got a phone call from Disney too, and it was a little bit different. They said, you were really close, but we can't offer you a position here, but would you be up for taking the test to go to the Florida studios? There used to be a studio in Florida. At first, I said no. And then I was like, actually, I need to be willing to go to any lengths to have my dream come true. And if that means I need to pick up and go to Florida and work out there, I need to be willing to do that, even though I'm scared. So I said, yes, I will take the test. And I needed to bring my portfolio back down. Now, I had a jump in my ability. I knew I had like something had happened in me and in my work. So I changed the drawings out. Was an important lesson. I changed the drawings out. At the time, there was no online portfolio. You had to physically bring it in. And I put a note on it and I said, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to taking the test. However, I want to mention that I've had a jump in my abilities, and if you would be willing to take another look at my portfolio, that would be great. So I got a phone call, and they said, we know you're supposed to take the test on Monday to go to Florida, but actually, we looked at your work again and we want to invite you to be a part of the animation training program. It's a 3-month boot camp where you're going to be trained and set up with mentors. And at the end of it, if all goes well, you'll be hired onto a film. So I accepted.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was crazy. So I did that boot camp and had incredible mentors. And at the end of that, I was hired into the animation department onto the movie Hercules, which is very apropos.
I was, oh my, I mean, really, serious, like it was all very meant to be. That is so exciting. You know, I mean, look, Disney has put out so much great work, and on the animation side, movies, and I mean, the history of the company is really, really incredible.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know all the details, but just all the little, things that I've read along the way, and even here in New York, is where the corporate headquarters, they just moved. I know I'm sure you know this, downtown. They've just built, it took a long time, obviously,
Mhm.
but they built like a state-of-the-art studio for some of the TV shows, and they have corporate down there and everything. But it's funny, I lived on the Upper West Side for many years, and I lived right by the studio, and I would pass it, and they had Eyewitness News, and it was at the time it was
Cool.
Regis, and
Yeah, yeah.
Kelly and Mark, and yeah, so that they're a big presence here actually, in New York, but they've just ventured out so much between the theme parks and then streaming, and they got on top of all that. So
Broadway.
you're with such a great company, and again, all the products they put out, Frozen, I love. I
Mhm.
didn't work on that, but are you working on something new? Do Drop Diaries, is that new?
No, no. So that ended a bit ago. That was a DreamWorks project that I did. That was my last DreamWorks project I did. From there, I actually because I was at Disney for a long time, I did well, the quick version is Disney features to Nickelodeon television to Warner Brothers, back to Nickelodeon, Disney TV for many years, then to DreamWorks for a few years, then back to Disney TV now for like 3 years. So
Okay.
I left DreamWorks and Drop Diaries to come to uh, be an executive producer on Zombies, the reanimated series, which is based off of the Zombies live action franchise that Disney has. So I
Hmm.
had in the past helped launch the animated series for Descendants, which is also based off of live action franchise. So we did the same kind of thing with Zombies and released an animated series that goes in partnership with the live action. I'm also working on a few different other development projects with Disney right now. So that's very exciting. There's some new stuff that we're working on that obviously I can't talk about yet, but it's super, super exciting. I feel really, really lucky and blessed to be working on so many cool projects right now.
That's great. So what about things that you like? Do you have anything right now in the hopper that is really like your idea from your inspiration, your life, a little.
I do actually. Yeah, I do have something. There are I'm still, working on zombies. And then I'm helping with some work that is with I'm like, how much can I say? With uh this born of the studio.
Hmm.
But I do have something original that I am working on here that is very much more of a personal project and very reflective of my life and upbringing and uh, super, super fun and exciting. And it's uh, going a little bit more slowly because I'm so, so busy with some of the other stuff. But yes, I do have that
All
here.
right. Well, we're gonna definitely we're
File.
gonna stay tuned for that. So, would you actually? I know you do all the drawing, but you also do some of the writing, don't you?
Mhm.
To do right. You are right. Yeah, I mean, you're a writer,
Yeah. Yeah,
not
so the
animator.
role
Yeah.
that I've spent in for the past few years is mostly as an executive producer. And an executive producer in animation is a really exciting place to be in for somebody like me because I always like to kind of say like my the work I've done so far is almost like this patchwork quilt. Like there's just like all these different squares that we're putting in and we put it all together and it's like, oh my gosh, executive producer. Like in my role there's a day can be filled with so many parts of the production process. So I can have a morning where I'm doing drawings, and then from there go into the writer's room, and then we're sitting in the writer's room and we're breaking stories for 2 hours, and then from there I can go to a voiceover record. And then maybe I'm looking at posts and sound effects. And then we're having an executive pitch and we're going over notes on the pitches or working with the artists and any changes that we need to talk about because of notes we got from the executive pitch. So it's running around and doing a little bit of everything. And if there's time for a little songwriting, then that could appear too. I certainly did a lot of that on Phineas and Ferb. which I wasn't an executive producer on that project, but just the nature of that show, we had the space to be able to do that stuff if we wanted to. And then yeah, jumping into the booth to do voices too. So it's a great position for somebody like me that has these years of experience now of wearing different hats that now I can kind of bring that experience to the table and help just kind of like be a part of the vision for something, like the clear vision, and then help bring the team into that vision and help hopefully lead the way into making that bigger piece what it needs to be. I'm like not saying this very well, but the to bring all the pieces together to make it in this bigger conglomerate that is the standing series that we've all collaborated and worked together on. Like if you just had all the pieces together, you can't make a cohesive thing. You need those leaders that understand the process to be there to help lead the way into making that thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, no, yeah, it's a good because, as creative, one person, let's just say, does the animation and the story and whatever, and everybody sort of works in their own silo. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, it has to be a story, a beginning, a middle, an end. You got to take the audience on a ride, like regardless whether it's stand up, whether it's a movie, whether it's a film, whether it's a short, whatever it is. So you need that, that team of people.
Yeah, and if you've worked in those positions before, then you have a unique understanding of what's needed or how to communicate with your team. So even today, I just got something that I have some animation notes on. And so I asked for the file to be sent to me because having animated, I know rather than trying to describe it, whatever, I'm like, let me just go in and do some sketches and I'll write up some little notes, but I can actually get in there and do it to then help communicate to the team what I'm looking for from that given scene. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's the same thing with writing. Like I know story structure and I know dialogue and I know setup punchline and I know pacing and there's these things I know from having written. Now we have writers in the writer's room and we have a script supervisor and we have this team, but I know how to get in there and do it too and also communicate with them because I understand that language, having done it.
Yeah, no, you've worn a lot of hats, so you could, and
Yeah.
you can talk everybody's language. I have to ask you, it's such a hot topic about AI, and how does that affect your industry and what you do?
I think that like we don't directly know right now it's definitely on people's minds. It's definitely, in conversations. I think a lot is trying to be sorted out as far as like what's okay and what's not okay. Like it's not okay to use something that's ripped off somebody else's art and somebody else's style, and then that has not been paid for it, and then use it yourself to make new work. Like that's just not okay with any of our industries, right? Like I know my husband's industry in music is dealing with the same thing. So that's not okay. We currently don't have AI in our building. Like we don't show AI artwork in presentations and we don't put them into our work right now. I know some people use it, and this I think is I don't want people to get mad if I say something positive about AI, but I think that there is a place for helping with research that like if it helps you like have some prompts that are like a character's doing this and da 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 da, and it can help you in the way that like we often do, like let's say Google image search, like let me look at, a garden setting from such and such jungle, or we want to look at, how a character or posing, how somebody looks like when they're sitting in this way. So you might build up files and files and files and have references, and you use the reference to then create your new artwork that's your own. So in that kind of way, I think research can be informed by some of the AI tools. Whether AI is a direct replacement yet for animation, I am sure I know that's being worked on. What I've seen so far for me feels lifeless. It doesn't have I don't feel the person behind it yet. And I think that was the trouble even at the beginning with CG animation, because everybody said, oh my God, CG animation is going to replace animators. Well, if you just look at moving these items around in CG, they're floating, they're lifeless, it's uncanny valley, there's no connection to it. Whereas with, like, let's say hand-drawn animation, the imperfection of the human being or a person feeling something in their heart, when they draw something, they push that line down harder, they're feeling it and it's going into the way you draw. That human connection is present in the work. So just like CG, we had to find a way to bring human connection into it. I think there's going to have to be something like that to bridge the worlds together. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think we can pretend that AI is going to go away, because it's not. So I think we have to just learn the right way to incorporate AI, and that it should not replace human beings. I mean, the human experience. I know what it feels like to fall in love. I know what it feels like to have my heart broken. I know what it feels like when my face is trying to hide that I'm about to cry. I know what it feels like to hold my kid when they're hurt and try to make them feel better. Those are from my human experiences. So I still believe, even if there's a new tool in our life, that the human beings need to bring their human emotions and experiences to that tool.
Very well said. I'm with you on all of that. As an actor, it was about using your likeness and not even knowing about it,
Yeah.
and just, all of that. And it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah, it is. And I, even when people make AI videos online and stuff, and I'm like, I know because I study um people's expressions and acting and stuff. Like, that's what I do all the time. I'm an animator, and you do as an actor and comedian, you notice these little things. So we can really feel when something's false. And I know maybe somebody else might not, but I think if we had this all the time, or movies made of this, or it would start hitting us like this. Something feels off, something feels wrong, something doesn't feel true. And I think that that's, where we're going to maybe end up ultimately having the pushback. I hope, because otherwise I don't think that we're going to have a real representation of the human experience. And we are still telling stories about the human experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I personally love live shows and I love plays and musicals. I like to be there.
Same.
And just, I mean, people talk about, when they talk about comedy, it's like, oh, I saw this one on Netflix and whatever. It's like, okay, that's great. And I'm happy for so and blah, blah. But don't don't think that because when you watch it on TV at home, or what, in the comfort of your lounge chair, it's not the same when you go to comedy shows. And I would say I know a lot of comedians, and sometimes I'm watching them on TV, and I'm like, I know so and so. He is so much funnier than the
Mm,
audience.
hmm.
Like you said, it's a feeling. It's just
Yeah, yeah. Same with, like, I've really I'm so glad we've been going to New York so much, because I've become obsessed with Broadway shows. Like, I
oh,
just, oh
good.
my God. And oh, I saw this isn't a musical because I love musicals, but I saw Dorian Gray, and holy,
Amazing. She was
incredible. And like, that is a human, I have goosebumps even thinking about it. That is a human experience. That is a live human experience. Sharing that with an audience. I mean, that is something that is so, it's visceral. And that's the thing that I think, like, hey, I'm glad people are working and having all these specials and shows, and it's awesome. And that's great when Hamilton the musical is on Disney Plus, and it gives people a chance who can't get to the
right,
live thing, a
of course.
chance to experience it and hear the music, and that's awesome. But wow, like, being in a live performance is so, so special. So audiences, don't forget to support live theater, please.
I'll share something with you. I'm in the midst of writing a one-woman show about my great grandmother who emigrated from Cyprus,
Mm.
came through Ellis Island, and things happened there. Blah 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 blah. And I actually am at the point. I've had this idea in my head for over 10 years, and I actually have like a pretty decent draft. Now we're going to get it on his feet. I'm working with a director. We'll get to a table read, hopefully like in a month. And I have a lot of purposes for this, but my one main purpose is, obviously to tell her story, but as I'm writing it, it's because as you're writing it, you're like, are people going to understand this? And just to take them on that experience. I mean, at the end, I want them to go like, oh, that was my grandmother, or oh, I gotta call my
Mm.
grandmother, or it's all about that, right? I mean,
Well,
and
those connections,
yeah,
like we all need and want that. Like, oh my gosh, I mean, the pandemic, everybody was so desperate for that. And like, that's what we're all about. So,
yeah.
again, real human experiences bring these connections to our own. You share your human experience, it connects to my human experience. And currently, I don't see that with, what's happening with AI, and that might change. But for now, I haven't seen that be totally effective yet. And I don't want to, I always like, I want to create like controversy. I'm sure there's somebody who works on AI and they're like, no, my AI is amazing. I'm not saying like, listen, we have to, it's like when silent films ended and the talkies came in and hand-drawn animation ended because CG came in, and then we're like, wait a minute, hand-drawn's so beautiful. Look at Miyazaki. Let's bring it back. Like, there's going to be a place for everything, and there's always a swing of the pendulum. And I'm not saying that one thing is bad. I'm just saying that however we make the things that we make, that we have to start with the human experience because we're telling those stories for that reason. And the audience, if we're making something in a vacuum in the corner of our house, fine, but we're talking about the things we make for an audience to connect with. And that's still, no matter what tool we use, needs human experience attached to it.
Hey, listen, I'm so old school. Like when I want to return something, I call customer service. I'm like, I want to talk to a person. I want to tell them my grievance, and I want to know if they're going to give me a refund. Like I am all about expressing myself. It's
I
just
love
with
that.
like where they go like, oh, robots will do surgery. Well, what if the robot's having a bad day? What if
Yeah.
a little rust that somebody didn't
There's a
notice?
glitch. Yeah.
Or the driverless cars.
Also, I'm like, yeah, can we replace can we replace let's not replace artists and singers and voiceover actors and let's have these robots like can they like clean up the oceans and like uh, sweep the streets and like help stop crime like can we
Right.
have
Get,
them do some
get,
stuff that is like
get
don't do
right.
that don't replace human beings and their art
Right.
please.
Get rid of the riffraff. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right.
exactly.
I'm totally with you on that for sure. Well, I'm really glad you're coming to New York and you're experiencing that. I have to ask you one last question. You're a mom. You have
Yes.
five kids
Yes.
essentially. And so how do you do it? What do you? I tell you, I haven't even made my bed, and it's 4 o'clock. It's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know where you get all this time, but you seem to have a lot of energy and like a magic potion. So, how do you manage all? How do you,
Oh my gosh, imperfectly, imperfectly. I don't do any part of it perfectly. I definitely have to cut myself some slack. I have to ask others to cut me some slack because it's just it, when people say, "How do you do it all?" Like I am not doing every single part of it perfectly every day. There's a day where oh my gosh, I need to be at work early because we have a big record with this big actor and da 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 da. So I'm not going to be able to be there for this, and this in the house. Or it's the opposite. I mean, I right now I'm going on a family trip and I'm not going to be able to come to the big premiere for a big thing at work and da 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 because I want to be here and be present for this trip. So
Mhm.
there are times where I have to like make choices and not do it all perfectly. But also with that said, I do have a lot of energy. I'm a really intense person. Like I am kind of that person that doesn't stop. My head is always kind of, like, oh, we could do this and we're going to do that. And da, da, da. Oh, this would be really cool if we did this over here. And like, so I even have to say to myself, like, take it back a couple notches. This person might not be as hardcore about this as you are. Like, this person probably doesn't want to like figure this out right this second, like table it until tomorrow, Leaky. So I think I'm a little bit like, I've always been wired this way. Even like, my dad and I laugh about it because my dad's the same way. He's very, very intense and passionate. And when I was a kid, he would always say, Aliki, calm down, because I was always kind of like thinking of the next thing. Now I'm older, so I get a little more tired, and I definitely appreciate my naps when I can grab one. And I think, obviously rest and respite and taking that time for yourself is important. But I very much just try to look for the balance. And also, like, I did this workshop a long time ago that was really cool. And she talked about, like, it sounds cheesy, but it really helped me a lot. She talked about, like, if we want to be a queen, what is in our realm? And whatever's outside the realm has to become secondary. So there are the people in my realm, and that's my family, and there are, the aspects of my work that need to stay in my realm, and that's close by. Outside of that, there are things I have to like say no to. I have to say I can do this in 2 weeks, not tomorrow. And I had to learn that the hard way because I used to always want to like say yes to everything and be there for everyone and do everything for everybody. And I started realizing I was like putting myself last too much in order to operate at that high level. And so I had to kind of learn after being totally exhausted, like it's not saying yes to everything. And sometimes it's yes later. Even there was something I was asked to do last year that I really wanted to do, and I was like, now is not a good time. We're in college applications with my kids, and I'm really, really busy with work, and I'm trying to launch this new thing. I want to do this so badly, but I need to ask them to wait until next year. And people are usually okay to do that. Like most people aren't like, well, that's it. Most people are like very understanding and very gracious. I'll try to give people a date too. Like I'll say like this month is tough for me, but can you please follow up with me August 5th? I try not to put it on myself because it's too much for me again. So I've learned too, like if it's really important to the people or the things that are outside of the realm, that they will make sure and make it happen. They'll follow up with me. And otherwise, they might slip away and move on to the next person, and maybe it wasn't that important. But I made sure I got my rest, I got my workout in, I took care of my children, I was there for them, and I was there for the responsibilities I have at work. That has been something that has really held me in good stead, especially if anyone's listening. The teenage years, you think, oh, when they get older, they won't need you as much. It's going to be so much easier. It is the opposite. They need you more than ever. Your presence, your ear, your listening, your guidance, your sharing. Oh my God. So when we hit these teenagers, that's when I really had to say, okay, I need to drop some of these outside things and put them on hold. I love them. I want to do it, but I need to wait a minute and just be there. And it's okay. There will be the time. And that has been fine because the time does come and things change and everybody's doing, I don't want to say everybody's doing great like they weren't doing great, but it was just such a busy time.
Mhm.
I wanted to be there to drive them to the basketball practice, and I wanted to be there to help with the college applications, and I wanted to be there to sit and cry over the breakup and all that kind of stuff. So being present for what's important, what is in your realm, and then making other times for the things that might be important to you, but don't need to happen right now. That is what has helped me.
Wow. So you have been able to, and this is hard, to set boundaries. I
Yes.
boundaries,
Boundaries, I
keyword.
love setting boundaries. I have found my voice and I didn't have it for a long time. I did not know I could do that. I didn't know it was okay. I was a people pleaser. I didn't know that people would still like me or be there or it would be okay with everybody. And I have changed that. I like the people who are going to love and support me and be there for me are going to be understanding and respectful of boundaries. And we as women, we grow up not having that voice and not being okay with setting boundaries for ourselves. But more than ever, this was the thing she had said about this like queen concept is like what we can give and do and be, we're so powerful as women. We are incredible. We can help we can help people feel special and warm and heard and accepted and produce and make incredible things. And we can do amazing things in this world, but we need to also take care of ourselves and set those boundaries and be able to do those incredible things that we do. So it's a disservice to the world if we don't.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's something to be said about recharging your battery.
Yes.
We're like, the gas tank, you got to fill up the gas tank, all
Yes.
that. The one thing I do almost every day is workout, and I do it in the morning. And it took me years to like first get into it, and I have to like from the head. And when
Yes.
someone's like, can I meet you at this? Can I meet you at that? If I can take an early, I'm a workout class person.
I love classes too.
So it's like, and living in New York, I walk like it's 10 minutes. I walk, so I
Mhm.
walk a couple blocks. But if I can move it to an earlier class, I will. If not, it's like, no, can we do it then? Like that is the why I feel that is the one thing I've made boundaries for myself, and I'm so happy that I did because it propels my whole day.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. And even like, with having kids in the house, I started because I used to be a stay up late kind of girl. I mean, I would like stay up till 2 in the morning and all this, and I couldn't do that anymore. And so now I do an opposite thing where like I'm going to bed because I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm either going to work out and have that time for myself, or I'm going to have a quiet hour before everybody gets up and I'm going to drink my coffee. I'm going to catch up on emails or I'm going to scroll Pinterest fashion pages, whatever dumb thing I want to do. I get to do whatever I want. Like that's my time to
right, right,
just have
right.
some quiet. Yeah.
And to talk about the teenage years. So my husband and I don't have kids, but my nieces actually live like literally next door. And then
Oh,
I have another three that are over in Jersey. But so we've been really like, very,
aw.
very involved. I used to pick up the kids from school and all this kind of stuff. And it's not the teenage years that we grew up. It's totally different. They
Mhm.
are exposed to everything,
Yes.
and you have to be there not just for the good, the fun stuff, but just to make sure that nobody's going off the rails. It's
A
and
lot to navigate and talk about and process. And yes, they're
yes,
having access to a lot of stuff. And
yeah,
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 keeping those
it's way
communication
too
lines
much. And
open.
and then the college, we did the college thing, and that is no, I don't. I
Oh.
applied to 5 colleges. I mailed it out. I got
I applied to three. I hand wrote them. I was like, I guess I'll make a portfolio really quick and throw it. Like I didn't know what was going on. And now it is
oh
hardcore. It's another full-time job.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, early decision, early this, but the
Oh my God.
first choice,
Yeah.
this, that. I'm like, oh my God.
And it's not like I remember saying this to my father, but Aliki, you get too crazy. And I'm like, Dad, this is not like I'm the one who's being hardcore. This is a reality. Like you have to do this or it's not happening. Like this is
Right.
how it is now. Like these poor kids, the stress and pressure that they have. But yeah, they need that like guidance and presence and kind of calming force wherever they can get it, hopefully from family,
Mhm.
to just help them navigate through that and everything else going on in the world. It's
Right.
tough for them.
Yeah, 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 it is. Because, and like, as they're exposed to everything, you can just
Yeah.
find out about anything where
Yeah.
it was just different. So, I want to absolutely encourage everybody to check out your TED Talk from Athens, which I
Aw.
so love. You're beautiful, you're adorable. I so enjoyed this. I'm so happy
Aw.
finally we got to talk to each other.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
And I hope, if you're ever in New York, if you ever want to grab coffee, please, reach out. Maybe I'll see you at a Greek event. By the way, you're like in the Los Angeles area, right? That's where you.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm heartbroken that Papa Christos has closed.
I know, our one place.
Heartbroken.
We had one.
Like,
I know.
because
It's not
anytime I went,
fair.
I'd go to, St. Sophia's, which is like
Mhm.
the Palace of
Gorgeous.
Versailles. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I would go across the street with somebody, and I kept 70 years. And like, oh God, I was really upset.
I know, I know. It was our one place. I mean, we would drive down and even just the little grocery, like the little Greek grocery that they had over there. Now I'm like, where do I get my tiki honey?
Yeah, I know, I know. So we look.
But I would love that. Next time I'm in New York, if
Oh,
we could,
please.
be great to,
Yes. Yeah,
yes.
that would be awesome. You were a presenter at Los Angeles Greek Film Festival. I'm so glad that Greeks are knowing you. I think it's
Aw.
what you do is amazing and different and just lovely. And you're a great example. And for all the wannabe animators and creators out there, especially the girls. But Aliki Theofilopoulos Kiriakou, I love that name. That's amazing. Is your husband Cypriot?
No, his name sounds Cypriot, but he's
Yeah,
actually Rhodian.
he has that what?
He's
Oh,
Rhodian. His
from Rhodes.
family's from
Oh,
Rhodes. Yeah,
oh,
they're both
oh, okay.
from Rhodes. And I guess in Warren, Ohio, there's a big Rhodian community because I know his mother was from there because you mentioned Ohio.
Yeah.
And then he's from, he grew up in Newcastle where there's a ton of Greeks. So,
PA. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. In
It's
fact,
really
I think Greg Pappas, they like their Greek circles were around there at the same time, which is really funny.
I always say I want to invent a game, 6 degrees to my kumbari, because when you talk to a Greek person, you'll get to like the third, like, oh, do you know Dino? Yeah, I know Dino. You know Maria? I know Maria. Do you know Dimitra?
You'll
Dimitra,
eventually hit someone. Yeah, yeah.
like that is
Funny.
like not Kevin Bacon, my kumbari.
I love that. Oh my gosh, it's really funny. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you everybody who listened. And yeah, I feel like whether it's animation or any pursuit of your dreams, like I hope my story can be an inspiration. It's definitely, as Ellen, I'm sure you know too, there are the ups and downs and the challenges and highs and lows and all of it. It's all part of it, but it's all about the journey. And I wish you guys all the very best on your journey, and please keep watching cartoons.
Yes, they make you happy. Γεια σου, κούκλα. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.